Dear friends of love for volleyball, amor por el voleibol, I'm pleased to talk today with a North American player and trainer who during his time in the national team achieved numerous successes. Two-time indoor Olympic champion, one beach volleyball gold medal, world champion as a player, coach, member of the Volleyball Hall of Fame, International Federation Best Player of the 20th Century, etc., etc. I mean Karch Kiraly, who is currently with us today talking about volleyball. Hello, Karch. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Happy New Year to you. It's nice to meet you and talk to you today. It's an honor. And of course, Happy New Year to happy 2021 to all the volleyball players and fans out there.
Fantastic. Um, Please tell me, Karch, first of all, when did you start playing and why did you choose volleyball as a sport?
My father grew up in Hungary, in
Mhm.
Europe, and he played, of course, a lot of football, world football, as everybody does, especially outside the United States. And he also played a lot of volleyball. He was on the junior national volleyball team there. And then eventually he escaped Hungary when in 1956 they got very excited for 10 days, 14 days, and thought they were going to get their freedom from the Soviet Union. But then the Soviet Union crushed the revolution that was had everybody so excited for liberty. And so he escaped and came to the United States and kept playing volleyball. So he taught me when I was 6 years old.
Mhm.
And then we started playing, and that was in beach volleyball.
Okay.
He played a lot of indoor volleyball, 6-on-6, and a lot of beach. And eventually he became my first teammate and my first coach. We played many, many tournaments together when I was very young. We played beach volleyball 2-on-2 in Southern California. And so that was a great start. And eventually I started playing indoors in secondary and high school.
Okay, that's my second question. How was this time for you in college and school for your career?
I went to high school in Santa
Mhm.
Barbara High School in Southern California. And we had a great volleyball coach there. His name's Rick Olmsted. He has a wonderful family. His kids played and are now coaches. And so um, that was a really important time in my volleyball life. He taught us great lessons and very, very hard work. And eventually we had some great success with our team. And then I went on to university to play for the University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. And their legendary coach there, our legendary coach Al Skates, who coached there for 50 years. He was also really influential in my career. And so it was a great honor to play for both of them before going on to the USA men's national team.
Exactly. In UCLA, you played also as a setter or not? As
In
a attacker
UCLA,
setter.
I played what we would call in the United States a 6-2 offense. So we had two setters on the court, but they only set when they were
Okay.
in the back row
Mhm.
and in the front row. So basically that position was half outside hitter, half setter.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. And tell me, please, when you joined the national team, how was this experience? I think it was a life-changing experience, but how was it for you when you joined the team?
I think it was near the end of my third year at UCLA. They had some tryouts.
Mhm.
The national team had been based in a different part of the country in Ohio.
Okay.
And then the team moved in 1981 to San Diego,
Okay.
which was much closer. So I could spend some time with the team, and others who were in college could do so also. And so we all went down there in the month of May in 1981 for a tryout. Some great, great players, people like Dusty Dvorak, Steve Timmons,
Mhm.
Pat Powers, Craig Buck, and others. And we all became members of the team after that week-long tryout. So Then I went and we played with the team for much of that summer, trained, lived down in San Diego and trained and played. And of course we had a great coaching staff, Doug Beal, Bill Neville, and Tony Crabb. And ultimately we were very young and inexperienced, and we had a lot to learn, but we had great potential. Pat Powers was another one who joined at that time, I think. I'm forgetting many, many names of people who joined the team, but who made the program better. We again, we needed a lot of experience and a lot of hard work, but the parts were there, and we could see in ourselves, and the coaches could see in us, that we had the possibility to do special things.
Exactly. I must tell you that in 1984, in the Olympic final, we in Chile saw the Brazilian team play against your team, the national of the USA, and we in Chile were very impressed because we almost not know about the US volleyball, and we know something about the beach volleyball, the women's volleyball with this team with Ari Sellinger, but we did not know about your team, and we saw that you beat the Brazilians in a so fantastic game, even when you before you lost against the Brazilian, and then we started to recognize, okay, something's happened in USA with the men's team, in a team that for me, it changed the volleyball around the world. You used a team with a new system of two receivers, with a very intelligent block, and things more common, like you used, for example, for us in Chile, use some volleyball shoes. We didn't know this Mizuno models. We didn't know this kind of shoes. And you play with short sleeves volleyball T-shirts. And so, in the exterior form, the external form, and the way of playing volleyball, you change the system. You change the volleyball around the world. What was for you? And to be part of this program, this fantastic program with Doug Beal and many other trainers that you told me, and to be able to confront all the best teams in the world, like for example the Soviet team. You play against the Soviets so many times. I think you won the most of the times, and this was very, very impressive for us around the world, especially for us in Chile.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts to that question. It makes me think back to 2 years before that Olympics. We played the World Championships not so far from you.
I know.
1982.
And against our
Argentina.
team. Yes.
And we had a big goal to have a good finish at that tournament. Oh, in fact, we set as a goal for ourselves to try to finish in the top 5.
Okay.
We weren't talking out in public or to journalists about it, but we said to ourselves, we've been having some success. We believe we're capable of this. This would be a great finish. But we had an incredibly disappointing first match. We played Bulgaria in the opening night of the tournament.
Okay.
We were in a difficult group with Bulgaria, the Soviet Union,
and Chile.
And Chile, exactly.
Yes.
And so we needed to beat Bulgaria to have the ability to go into the top half of the tournament, the upper 12 teams. But, and we had a huge lead in the last set in the 5th game.
Okay.
And we fell apart. In the United States, we might say we choked. We performed incredibly poorly under pressure.
Okay.
And some other things happened in that match too. And so we lost to the Bulgarians. We actually played the Soviet Union the next night. We played them very close. We lost in 3 close games.
Exactly.
Maybe some of the closest that they played in the whole tournament. But of course, they went on to win the tournament pretty easily. And we, having lost those 2 matches, we could not advance. So We played the rest of the tournament. We did the best we could, which was 13th, but it was way below what we had hoped to do. And so I think that was a really important, a critical time for us. We learned some very valuable lessons. We learned, because when we got late in that Bulgarian match, we were, instead of trying to win, we were trying not to lose, to avoid losing instead of to go win. We got too careful. It told us, whoa, we only have less than 2 years to the Olympics now. We want to do well in our own Olympics, in the Los Angeles Olympics, only 2 hours driving away from where we live and train. We have lots of work to do. So it added a new sense of importance and urgency. It made us train harder. And it also, you talked about, we had a unique blocking system. You talked about how we played with a 2-man serve reception pattern. All of those things came from how things went so awfully. What a failure that match against Bulgaria was. We added some new blocking systems because the Bulgarians had exposed weakness in our system. We saw that we could do better with 2 passers who both passed really well than having 3 passers, 2 really good and 1 not as good. So the principle was try to expose our best at any skill to do that skill the most. So if we have 2 really good passers, can we just let them do all the passing? And so we put all that together, and it made for us, we were already getting good, but I don't know that if we had, I think that loss in Argentina, finishing 13th, I think that failure was really important for us. Without that, I don't know that we go on to win an Olympics, a World Cup, a World Championships, and another Olympics. It was incredibly important in so many valuable lessons that we took, that we responded well to that failure. And I think that's the thing that put us into a different category. We trained harder, our systems became better, our coaches learned, our players learned, and from that point, we very much got into the top 4 or 5 teams in the world from a few months beyond that after.
Exactly. And we saw this time, as I told you before, that from until 1984, there were a Russian school from volleyball, a Japanese school from volleyball. Brazil even was evolving his style. But after this, there were a USA volleyball style that we all admire around the world. And as I was asking you before, you play against the Soviet team that were at this time the strongest team, with players like Sabin, Zaitsev, Panchenko, so many historical great players, and you beat them, I think, the most of the time of your games, because you have a so intelligent system against a team that plays very slow with high balls. You have, like I told you, the system of blocking. Sometimes I was surprised that you blocked in the middle, or Steve Timmons played in 2 or 4 position. It was a
good memory. We could have anybody blocking anywhere.
Exactly.
It was a crazy system, but
this kind of volleyball I like most. I'm a nostalgic one, but you have so confronted the best teams, and you beat all the teams with maybe this system. And I think it's my opinion, with a mental strength, that you have the ability to beat them all, because you enter the court and your faces show you wanted to win. That was impressive, especially in Seoul.
Well, you mentioned the Soviet Union, and first of all, we had great respect for that team. They had been the #1 team in the world for many years, starting with the 1978 World Championships. They won that easily, and then they won the 1980 Moscow Olympics easily, and then the World Championships in Argentina.
Yes.
And who knows? They were very, very good. And they were certainly an incredibly strong contender to win a gold medal in the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. And we dreamed and dreamed of getting to play them in that tournament, maybe for a gold medal. We had great respect for what they did. They were a nice group of men and great competitors, and we had nothing but respect for them. So we felt nothing like they felt, but we felt really poorly for them because we were playing them in May of 1984. We were on a tour through Europe, and we were playing very good volleyball. So were they. But near the end of the tour, we got to go play their team in 4 friendly matches. And on the first night, that was May 9th, 1984, I remember it very clearly. We had, and I'm getting bumps all over my skin. We played them in night 1, and it was just a great battle back and forth, and they're playing well and we're playing well, and we get to the 5th game and we eventually win. So we beat the Soviet Union. It was the first time the USA beat that team in 16 years since the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. And so we are in the locker room and we are ecstatic. We're going crazy. Just we beat the Russians. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be amazing to play them in Los Angeles just a couple of months, 3 months later in August, June, July, August. Meanwhile, right at that time, in fact, probably during the late part of the match, the country of the Soviet Union announced the boycott. I think their players actually learned it between the 4th and the 5th games. And so understandably, they were crushed, they were heartbroken. Absolutely. And yes. They had spent 4 years getting ready for the Olympics, and then they were not going to be able to play, just like the Americans weren't able to go in 1980 to the Moscow Olympics. So we beat them. We knew we played a very fierce match, but we now felt like we were right with them. They were so disappointed that the next 3 matches, their hearts were ripped out of them, and we beat them 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. Understandable. They were so, yes. They just had their spirits crushed. But so we played that Olympics, and it was a great win, but we knew in our minds the Soviets weren't there. That is not as good a tournament if the Soviets aren't there, if the Polish are not there, if the Cubans are not there. These are 3 great, great teams. And there were more, but those were 3 of the, especially the Soviets, they needed to be there. So that tournament was not as strong as it needed to, as we wanted it to be. We didn't have control over that. Nobody had control but the Soviet government. But certainly some of us stayed on because we wanted to play the real Soviet Union team in big tournaments. And so we went on to play them in the World Cup the next year, and then in the finals of the World Championships, and then in the Olympic final 4 years later. And then those became much more meaningful accomplishments because the great teams were there.
Exactly. I saw many times the play against Soviet Union in Tokyo in the World Cup, or the final in Paris. They were fantastic games. And as I told you, and I always have thought, when you see a team with the faces, with the expression of winning a game, it shows in the play in the game, and you always have this facial look. Your team, you always wanted to win, and it shows this fantastic tournaments, and especially against so great players.
You know, there are so many great teams, and they're all really hungry to win.
I know, no.
The Olympics this year we're not the only,
No.
our USA women's team's not the only team that's really hungry for a gold medal. Every team that goes there is, but we did have a hunger, and I guess I should correct it. I said, we were excited to play in the Olympics with the great teams there. Many of the great teams were playing in Los Angeles, just not all of them. And
yes, exactly.
Brazil was a great team for sure. And Argentina was there. And Argentina and Brazil were two of the top 4 teams 4 years later in the next Olympics. So many of the great teams were there. But of course, there was one team, by missing, they cast a big shadow, and that was the Soviet Union.
Yes, exactly. I have the opportunity to talk with many Argentinian players, as also with Brazilian players. And for example, the Argentinian player, Raúl Quiroga, he told me that one or many times he talked with you, and that you told him that a play against the Argentinian team was very tough because you never know who's gonna attack, who's gonna block in which position. It was a very tough game all the time. Especially, for example,
gosh, they were so difficult to play. We in the next year in the World Cup, they won the first 2 sets. So they were up 2-0 on us, and and they had some match points, and we had to figure out a way to come back. But they were such a great team. Quiroga and Conte and Martinez and Waldo Cantor and just everybody. They were fabulous volleyball players and a fabulous team. And in the Olympics in Korea, they also got up 2-0. And then our setter, Jeff Stork, who was recovering from an injury, he came back in and he helped us, but they had match point against us in that one also. And we had great battles in the Pan-American Games, another event where we went 5 sets, and that was in Indianapolis. So
against Cuba,
Argentina was a very, very dangerous team, and clearly so, because they won the bronze medal. That was a great, great accomplishment for them in 1988 in Seoul, Korea, that they showed how good they were. They were down against Brazil and came back to win their first medal in Olympic volleyball. So I loved watching them. I didn't like playing against them. They were fun to watch, not so fun to face across the net. They were so good.
Yes, I have seen this match against Argentina in Seoul so many times. I'm a fanatic volleyball watcher. So, and I think...
You mean the bronze medal match?
No.
Or the USA.
Argentina. The USA versus Argentina play that you won 3-2. And as you told, you were 2 sets down. And I thought that you meant to handle your team and to change and to turn the tide of this game because of your mental strength. I saw that you wanted to win, and you took all your team members with you, and you won a almost impossible play to win. And what I was telling you before about the faces of the players, I saw that the semifinal between the Soviet Union versus Argentina, and the Soviet plays very well. They shouted, they laughed, they played a fantastic game, but in the final against you, they were all like ghosts. And that's because I think the mental strength of your team, of your person, was so important, because this final was fantastic too. You beat a great Russian team, Soviet team. There was no more Sabin. Zaitsev were retired. They turned him back. But your team played, as I tell many times, as a watch, perfectly coordinated in every aspect, and block, and defending system, and receiving. And I think that was one of your great achievements as a player in indoor volleyball.
Well, I'm glad you saw it, because I didn't know it for sure at all. My wife was watching that match. She went to Seoul, Korea. And after we were losing 2-0, she couldn't take it anymore. She had to leave and walk around inside the building, but outside the competition hall.
Okay.
Just walking and walking and walking. And at some point, some stranger gave her one of those Olympic trading pins.
Okay.
That, you know,
Yes.
it's really fun to go to the Olympics and trade pins with people from all around the world. And just, she never saw him again, but he gave her a pin, and it had an American flag and the flag of the Soviet Union. And she put it on, and we slowly started to come back. And finally, she came back in, I think, halfway through the 5th set, where she wasn't going to have a heart attack anymore. But I don't know if it was luck or what. I'm glad you saw something on our faces. We were certainly not so sure, never were, when we were playing these great teams, Soviet Union, Argentina, Brazil. We knew we were always sure we could fight hard. But the results are not sure. That's the beauty of those competitions, of seeing two great teams play against each other. Nobody knows who's going to win until the last point's done.
Exactly. We saw your father were there too, with his American flag. He was shouting, waving, and he played all the games as you. I thought he was very tired after all the games. It was very emotional to see him.
He was really, really proud because he had escaped from the Soviet Union and come to his new country. And so he has an incredibly strong and deep hatred, understandable, for the Soviet Union. He hated that team, even though they were a nice bunch of guys.
I know.
They represented a country, a communist regime that led to the deaths of tens of millions of people. And so he was waving that flag about as proud as anybody could. Felt bad for my mom. She was trying to duck and avoid. It was dangerous sitting near him.
But it was so emotional to see. As I told you, my father was also a player and also a trainer. When we played with my brother in our teams, our father was our biggest, my mother, our biggest fans. And I know when I see my children play some sports, I'm so proud when to see them making sports. And talking about your volleyball career, I read so many years ago in a German volleyball magazine that you told about the Brazilian, that you told them, or you told the interviewer, that you have learned for the Brazilian, it's not so important to be a tall player, but to be a good player, because Brazilian this time were not very tall players. Rahma, Montanaro, William were under 1.90 meters, and also you. How you managed to be to play against so many big players, being not so tall? How was you work for being so good, and even as I told you, to block in the middle and stop many great players in the middle?
Brazil has always had a style that I love, a style of volleyball that I love. They play with great passion. They have great spectators, great fans. It's one of the most popular sports in Brazil. I love going to play in Brazil because people are so passionate about volleyball there. That's why it was so exciting to have the Olympics there 4.5 years ago.
Yes.
But they too played, it was a spectacular style that did not need really tall players. And it was a faster style of play, more ball control and precision, maybe with some aspects of the Japanese style of play, because the Japanese don't normally have that many tall players either. And so it really starts with ball control, great serve reception, great defense, ability to see the game well, and to attack in different places and moving through the air and use some deception. And so teams like that are really fun to watch. I always loved watching Brazil play and also playing against them. They played and loved playing down in Brazil. They would get 20,000 people out there for a volleyball game, and they would all be cheering against us and whistling so loud you couldn't even hear each other. Those were my favorite places to play, when we had 20,000 people who wanted us to lose as much as somebody could want something. That's the best, to win in an atmosphere like that.
Fantastic. And tell me please, Karch, after you played indoor, and as you told us before, you played beach volleyball since you were very little. After this, you started a fantastic career in beach volleyball. How was this experience as a professional player on the beaches?
You're right. As I mentioned, I started on the beach when I was 6 years old, and I played a lot of beach volleyball at very high levels when I was 18, 20, 22, 23 years old. But then I had to, I needed to spend a lot of time with our USA men's indoor team, didn't get to play too much beach volleyball. And then when I retired from the team, I was around 28 years old, and then I got to start giving more of my time to return to the game I originally had played a lot. And so that we had something called the AVP Tour in the United States, the Association of Volleyball Professionals, and it was really growing and becoming much more popular. And we would play all around the country in places like California and Florida. Those make sense, but others maybe not so much, like Chicago and Arizona and Texas and places like that. So we would go to some places that you don't think of as traditional beaches, but we would get huge crowds, and it had a great following. And so I loved playing with just one other player and essentially being my own coach, or we being our own coaches. There's a lot more responsibility in beach volleyball because at that time there weren't many coaches, and it was just the players figuring things out for themselves. And so I tried to apply a lot of the lessons I had learned from all of the great indoor coaches to help our team be better. And of course I got to play, really, really fortunate and honored to have played with many of the best who ever played indoor volleyball, like Steve Timmons, and many of the best who ever played beach volleyball, like Ken Steffes and St. John Smith and Mike Dodd and others. And so super incredibly fortunate to play with all of these amazing players, and fortunate that just as I had decided to go and spend more time at beach volleyball, they added beach volleyball to the Olympic program starting in 1996 in Atlanta.
Yes, and there you won the gold again. Now
and got a chance to win the
beach.
gold.
Yes.
What I'm really looking forward to someday, I don't know when it'll happen, what woman or man will do it, but you know how they organize the schedules in the Olympics to help somebody like Michael Phelps so he can win 8 races in 7 days, and that the timing has to be right.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for the day somebody is so good at beach volleyball and so good at indoor volleyball that they can play indoor volleyball one day, beach volleyball the next, and win 2 gold medals in the same Olympics. 2 different disciplines.
Maybe sometimes.
I'm waiting for that day, and I'm really excited to watch somebody try to make that happen.
Amazing. And as I was telling you, I saw many plays of you in volleyball, in beach volleyball. Thanks to YouTube and the technology, we can see these matches today, and we saw again you playing fantastic games with so much passion, and making so much incredible plays. I think it's impossible for me or anybody to make such a good plays. And after this, your fantastic beach volleyball career, when did you have thoughts about to be a trainer and still be in volleyball? When did you, or do you have a talk with somebody, or what was the moment you thought, okay, I will continue in volleyball, but now as a trainer?
Good question. For most of my playing career, even well into my 40, because when I finished playing beach volleyball, I was 46, my last season playing. But until my early 40s, I don't think I ever really thought I had the patience to coach. And so I was not thinking that was in my future. But my wife and I, we have 2 sons who were in 8th and 9th grade at that time. And the older one in 9th grade, he played for his high school volleyball team. and they had a very difficult season. They played, I think, 31 matches, and they lost each of those 31 matches. So they went 0-31, but they also lost every set of every match. So they were actually
Very
0 sets won,
Yes.
and 93 sets lost.
Yes.
And so my wife and I would go to cheer them on, and we were just like, please, what can we do to just help them win one set to have some tiny success? And so near the end of that, it was my wife she said, Karch, you have to coach them. You have to help them at least be 1-92 instead of 0-93. So I asked the school if I could coach and help them become better. And and I forgot, in one of those sets that they lost, they were even winning 20-10, but they lost 25-23.
So sad.
So they had such a difficult season, but so I was really excited to help them learn and improve, and just couldn't wait to see the smile on their face if they could win one set to 25 points. And so we worked really hard that next season to start with in training, and we played the first game against a team that was impossible the year before, and they won that first set 25-19. And they went crazy. It was like they had just won the Olympic gold medal. They were going crazy. So that was one of my prouder coaching moments for sure. Just so happy for the boys. They worked so hard. And then I said, hey guys, calm down. If we could win one of those, maybe we could win two. Maybe we could even win three.
Let's go step by step.
A full match. And they ended up going on to win that match. And so it was the first time in about 2 years that they had won anything. And it was those boys worked so hard, and it was such a great accomplishment of theirs. And eventually they got better, and they got better, and and eventually went on to win a championship by the 4th year. And so like a Southern California championship in their small school division. But it was a huge accomplishment. They went from 0 for everything to the biggest trophy.
Incredible. And so you saw that you liked to train.
So that got me, they infected me.
Yes.
With the coaching virus and with the hunger to teach and help people and see the joy that comes with hard work when you start here and you slowly work your way up to much better volleyball and more skill and better teamwork and things like that. And so then eventually I got to know Coach Hugh McCutcheon, and he was the great coach who helped the men win the gold medal in China at the Beijing Olympics. And then he decided to coach the women, and I had helped in their gym a little when they were on a trip somewhere. I helped coach some of the players who stayed behind, and eventually he asked me if I would like to be a part of his coaching staff, and he gave me a wonderful opportunity. And that was 12 years ago this month. In 2009, I started coaching a month or two later, but he and I talked about it that year, January of 2009, and here I am in 2021 with the USA women still.
Incredible. And how's for you? Is it for you to coach the U.S. volleyball women's volleyball team after being a great player in indoor and beach volleyball, and being able to face the best women's team around the world, the Brazilian, the Chinese, the Italian, the Serbian teams? How was for you as a coach to put all your experience in coaching women's volleyball? I think it's a very different way to coach and to train.
Well, what I think is really different
Mhm.
is playing and coaching. Those are massively different. And so when I first got involved or had some interest in coaching our boys team,
Mhm.
I immediately just thought, okay, I've played a lot, but I don't know much about coaching. I should look at it and act like I'm a beginner. So I
Okay.
immediately signed up for a coaching clinic
Mhm.
with one of the great coaches and a great mentor of mine and a great man and person, Marv Dunphy. He
Fantastic.
happened to
Yes.
have
Mm.
a coaching clinic at where he coaches in Malibu, California at Pepperdine University.
Okay.
So I was a student. I became
Mhm.
a student of coaching. I still have so much to learn. I'm way behind many of the other coaches because I didn't start until I was 46 or 47 years old. And most other coaches started in their 20s or
Mm.
early 30s when they stopped playing volleyball at a much younger age.
You're
So I
right.
have a lot of catching up to do, a lot of learning to do, and I'm always hoping to learn and to improve as a coach. I have some advantages because I did play at a high level.
Mhm.
So there are some advantages, but I'm swimming against the river because most people who've had a lot of success don't end up being top coaches.
Yes.
They don't end up being as, they don't think about the game in ways that makes it easily understandable for a large number of players.
Mhm.
It's more intuitive with many of the people who've had lots of success as a player. And so it's really important to try to work against that because
Mm.
that's not the normal. And so I still have a lot to learn, and I'm still trying to be really hungry as a learner to get better as a coach.
What I really admire and impressed me very much, seeing you coach the American team, the volleyball women's team, is to see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see that you're not you're a very calm trainer. And even when I saw, for example, Doug Beal train you and coaches you, Mark Dunphy, they never were like the Brazilian, the shout, the trainers, the I don't know, the Russian, the famous Russian Nikolai Karpol, they shouted all around the game. You and your style, maybe it's American style for coaching, you're very calm. You're very, I think you give the players the confidence to play well, even when they making mistakes. Is this the US volleyball system to coach, or is it something that
Mm,
you have learned from your teachers?
I think I just happen to have some great models for
Mm-hmm.
calm coaching. Um, my high school coach, Olmsted, college coach, Skates, and Beal and Dunphy. They're all very calm coaches, and that can help when you're playing for an Olympic gold medal or for
Yes.
playing for in these other big tournaments to try to calm down the chaos a little bit.
Yes.
I'm still trying to find the right line in terms of how much calm and how much passion that I should have. I try to find the right circumstances for
Mm-hmm.
both. But yes, it's a different style of coaching, but I found it really effective for the teams that I played on. And I aspire to accomplish that. I'm certainly not perfect at it, and I will never be the perfect coach, and I will never be um, where I want to be as a
Mm-hmm.
learner in becoming the best teacher and coach that I can be. But
Okay.
I try to keep my emotion down and the screaming and the yelling down.
It's very difficult. As a player, you were very, very passionate about this. Um, and tell me, please, you have a very strong team. Volleyball women are always getting more taller than before. The volleyball is more powerful. Many volleyball players surf make a jump serve. How do you see your team and hopefully in the Olympics in this year in Tokyo and in the future?
Well, first of all, I love coaching this special group of women. It's been an honor and a privilege to do that for these 12 years now as an assistant and then as a head coach. It's a really special group of people who have very high character. They're just good people, not just volleyball players, but human beings.
Human beings. Fantastic.
And it's not just our players, but it's also our coaches and our staff. We have an amazing, I don't know of a better group of people for players and staff. And that's an important part of our program. We feel like we can achieve a closer type of teamwork with people who they won't always love each other perfectly, just like family. Family gets upset at each other too, but when it gets tough, it's really important to know that you will look out for me and I will look out for you, that we will support each other, even if we don't always get along perfectly, because life is messy and we can't always get along perfectly. But it's easier to accomplish things like that with people with great integrity and character. And so I love, and not only that, but they're great volleyball players. And so it's an amazing group to work with. And every time the Olympics comes around, we're trying to accomplish something that the USA women have not done before. We've qualified for and competed in 11 Olympic Games. 5 times we've won a medal, 3 silvers, 2 bronze, but we have not stood on that top step yet, the gold medal. That's still something that's left to be accomplished. So every time the Olympics comes around, we are throwing ourselves at that door and looking to break it down and try to make history. But we can't only think about a gold medal. It's about what can we do today to become a little better, to learn a little more, and to become a little better team. And so it's an honor to be a part of this process. And we also know this Olympics is going to be really tough. You mentioned great teams that also have very high hopes and strong potential to win a gold medal. The previous winner, China, Brazil, always strong. They've been strong for decades now. Serbia, reigning world champion, great winner of the silver medal in the last Olympics and the gold medal in the World Championships. Italy, who almost won the World Championships 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Turkey coming on strong with their great coach, Giovanni Guidetti. So I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody in there, but all of those teams are capable of great things there. And that's what's going to be wonderful about this very, very tough competition. There's nothing like the Olympics. You get tested and pushed to your limits. And the team that overcomes massive adversity at least once, maybe more, maybe falling down 2-0 like we men did against Argentina in Seoul. The team that faces that adversity and comes back and responds, that's the team that's going to win in Tokyo this year. And we hope to be that team, but we know there's 11 other teams that hope to be that team too. And the enemy always has a say in the battle.
I know. I wish you very, very much success in these Olympic Games. And tell me, please, Karch, finally, about the current volleyball national team development program that you recently talked about in social media. What is this about?
We're changing some things. We have a system in this country that's very different than most other countries around the world. The volleyball system of development is very much school-based, especially when they get to college. American college volleyball for men and for women is very strong. That's where all of our players spend 4 years developing.
Yes.
Almost everybody plays 4 full years of college volleyball before they might spend some time playing with the USA women's team or the USA men's team. Most other countries in the world, it's more of a club-based.
Yes.
You join a club and you play for the club team and you work your way up into the higher ages until you're in the top club and you're in the professional leagues now. But we don't have a professional league. We have a new one starting next month in February for the first time in many years. So we're excited about that. But so this development system is different. And when they're involved in college, it's more difficult for us to have some involvement, to have those college players stay involved with USA. And so we're making some changes to make it more possible for them to spend time, a week here, a week there, a couple of days here, a couple of days there, throughout their college career, so they can learn more and understand more of what they need to do if they want to try to play and represent the USA and play on the national teams. So we're changing the name of the program, changing some important parts about the program, involving college coaches more, and just generally getting those players more involved, more chances to be involved with USA, but also more chances even before college to have the best play against and with the best. All of this is trying to find the most effective ways to help develop the best national team players that we can to have a better chance to do things like win an Olympic gold medal, a world championship gold medal, a World Cup gold medal. And so we're trying to be better in volleyball player identification, to identify potential, and also in development, and not just for players, but for coaches too. And so we're making some changes because all of those age groups, the whole reason they exist is to develop the best national team players possible. And so we're trying to make a better and more direct connection to do that.
So interesting. And I have to make a question. As a foreigner from the United States, we see all the time from many years that the United States have so powerful basketball league, hockey league, American soccer league, and we always make the question why there's no a volleyball national league so powerful as these other sports. What do you think it's so?
Well, it's difficult. You might remember in 1999, the USA women's soccer team won the World Cup.
Yes.
And the World Cup was in the United States, and it was a massive success.
Yes.
And everybody in the country was talking about women's soccer. 2 years later, they started a professional league, and it didn't work. It wasn't sustainable. It went bankrupt. Okay. And so it's not just volleyball. It's just the United States sports environment is very, very competitive, and it's difficult to create a professional league that is sustainable, that is financially viable, that can make a profit, or at least break even instead of losing, because you can't have a business that just loses and never even breaks even. So many professional volleyball leagues have been tried, but nobody found the right formula, the right ingredients for success. So a new league is starting next month in February. It'll be played in Dallas. It's called Athletes Unlimited. You could search on the internet and find out a lot more about it. Some of our players will be playing: Jordan Larson, Tori Dixon, Karch Kiraly, the players who are back here right now. Most of our players are in Turkey and Italy and Germany and Japan and Brazil. But those who are home are almost all going to play in that, and we're really excited about it. We wish them great success. I help them as an advisor. It's a very strong group of people in terms of they have passion for it, but they also have some wealth, so they can support it when in the first couple of years you tend to lose more money. It's like starting a restaurant. You don't have a profit right away. You have to put some money into it. And maybe the most important thing or interesting thing is they're going about it very differently. So it should be interesting. There's no real focus on teams.
Okay.
They're going to have 4 teams. They're going to have a draft. You pick players.
Okay. Yes.
Put the teams together. On 3 days, you play each of the other 3 teams, then break them up and make new teams. Break them up and make new teams. So the clasifica, the standings, is not teams. It's just player number 1 down to player number 40. And it's all based on statistics and how many sets you won. So it's a professional volleyball league, but it's really an individual volleyball championship. The teams are not so important. The teams' names are not so important. I don't know. I'm a traditionalist, so I think, I'm not sure that's going to work. And even if you want to highlight the stars, the way you highlight the best stars in volleyball is you have good people around them who fill the other roles. LeBron James isn't LeBron James unless he has people who can pass and who can play defense and who can rebound. He can't do it himself.
Exactly.
And so to highlight the stars, it might be difficult to always be changing everybody around them. So I'm a little skeptical. I've told them that, but I'm cheering them on all the way. I want it to work. I hope it does. And I'm really excited to see how it works.
I hope it works too, because I admire your creativity in the United States. You invented the volleyball. You played beach volleyball 2x4 against 5 You changed the volleyball playing with 2 receivers. I know that in many on some college volleyball, the libero can serve. And you're always making such great ideas, such improvements to volleyball that we all love. It's fantastic. I really admire this constant willing to evolve, to be better. It's a fantastic way to make volleyball.
You're right. There's some great creative ideas, but in a small way, it makes our job with the USA women's national team more difficult, because when the libero is serving in college, only on the women's side, not on the men's side, it means the middle, the center player, is not serving. So we've had some middles come to play for USA who didn't serve for 4 years. We've had some some position 4s, some outside hitters come who maybe only played front row or only play back row. The big thing is, in college, they allow 15 substitutions. 15. Everywhere else in the world, 6. So you can play front, go out in the back, play front, go out in the back, play front, go out in the back. You can change in, out, in, out, in, out, over and over. You can't do that at the next level. And so we have some players, especially outside hitters and opposites, who are not nearly as well prepared for life after college volleyball because they only play part-time. So that's a small challenge that we face, but the plus side is the American college system has thousands and thousands of women's players. So we have a very deep talent pool and a lot of players to choose from. Not all of them are as well prepared as they could be, but so it's a positive and a negative, and so it's fun. So, Alfredo, it's been great to spend this time with you. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to have to go jump on a different Zoom in a minute here.
Exactly. I wanted to end this interview to thank you enormously for your time, for your words. It has been a great pleasure, as I told you, an honor. And thank you again, and happy to meet you. And I invite you to keep in touch and wish you the best for you, your family, all the health wishes for you, and hopefully the best success for your teams around the world.
Thank you very much, and best of success to you and to everyone out there, hoping for an exciting 2021 with a delayed Olympics, but we wish everybody great health and success in this new year.
Fantastic. Bye-bye, Karch.
Bye-bye.